Everyone, how's it going? Mike here. Got a great video for you guys today. So, today's video is actually going to be whether you should top fruit mushrooms or side fruit mushrooms. And I'm actually addressing a question one of the viewers or one of my subscribers had in the comment section. So, I just want to say, if any of you guys have questions or anything like that about any of my videos, or if just something comes up in your mind about mushroom farming or mushrooms and you want me to make a video about that, drop it in the comment section below. If you're feeling anything today, if you got a video in mind, put that in the comment section below, and maybe I'll make a video touching on that, because I definitely like to make videos specifically addressing my subscribers' needs. Now, onto this whole thing about top fruiting or side fruiting, what is the answer? And I'll just say, it is entirely the preference of the grower, and sometimes the shelving setup at the mushroom farm is a determining factor, and another determining factor could be the species of mushroom, because some do perform better and grow better as a top fruit versus a side fruit, and some perform better as a side fruit versus a top fruit. So those are going to be some of the things I'm going to cover today, and we're going to talk about a little bit. All right, let's get it. Okay, now first, let's establish the differences between side fruits and top fruits. This is a picture of side fruits. You can see pink oysters, blue oysters, golden oysters, and some hericium in that picture. This picture, we've pretty much got oyster mushrooms, and these are top fruits. Notice the fruits are coming out the top side of the bag. We got a lot of pink oyster in here and a lot of blue oyster. Now, here's a photo of side fruits. This is some hericium here, specifically Hericium americanum and Hericium erinaceus. Here we have pink oyster mushrooms. They're being top fruited. There's actually some really cool things you can do with pink oyster mushroom top fruited. I'll go over that a little bit later, but now we've established the difference between side fruits and top fruits. So let's talk about that a little bit. Okay, everyone. So now that we've kind of seen the visual differences between top fruiting and side fruiting, let's talk about it a little bit. So there's obviously differences there. Now, I want to let you know, this is all preference for the grower. There's not really a right or wrong way to do it, and it's all contextual. The way I want you guys to think about trying to choose whether you want a top fruit or side fruit, just think about it like another tool in your tool belt, and you're just trying to select the right tool for the job, all right? So on something, let's just kind of use the lion's mane, for example. So let's take a look at this lion's mane photo again. All right, everyone, so let's take a look at this. Here's lion's mane mushroom on the bottom, Hericium erinaceus. On the top, that's the Hericium americanum, the bear's head mushroom. And you can see I've got these mushrooms side fruited right here. Here is another photo. This is a photo of Hericium coralloides. All of these hericiums I prefer to side fruit, mainly for aesthetics and also for just the fastness and ease of harvesting and trimming. Now, here's a photo of the lion's mane and the Hericium coralloides together here in the fruiting room. And I also like the aesthetics of it. You'll see I have a mushroom viewing window for my grow room. And I had this in my mushroom retail shop that I owned in St. Louis. And it was just so cool. When you would walk in, it just kind of looked like you had mushrooms hanging there on the trees, you know. And it was just a really neat thing to look at when you walked in the shop. Okay, so you guys can kind of see how I prefer to do my hericiums, and then I even had a lot of my oyster side fruited like that. And my main reason is it's speed for me, and it's also aesthetics. I like the look of it, just having that viewing window that I had in my mushroom grow shop. It's so cool when you could just walk in and see all the side fruits hanging off it, just like it's hanging off a tree, you know? Now, I want to say there could potentially be problems with side fruiting, because there's always a con, you know? There's always a trade-off somewhere. And basically the subscriber that was asking this question to begin with, the main con is, it's a funny one, when your mushrooms get too big on a side fruit, sometimes they can fall off your block, or it can make the block topple over. So honestly, I just want to say, guys, if you are battling the problem of your side fruits falling over, or your mushroom box falling over because your mushrooms are getting too heavy, that is a good problem to have, man. It means you guys are doing something right. All you really need to do in a situation like that, if you are side fruiting and you want to continue side fruiting, and let's say you're just having problems with the mushroom block or the mushrooms falling off the block or your blocks potentially falling off the shelf, that can be caused by a few reasons. Okay, first of all, let's just address the whole block falling off. Sometimes it may not be balanced correctly. You can design the shelf so they maybe tilt back a little bit. That can help sometimes. And I also want to say too, just making and you got to make sure your floor is level if you have them on wire racks. If you have them on wire racks, kind of like those wire shelves I use and I've had in the photos, you don't have too much problems with them tipping off. You basically, I like to set the entire bottom side of that block on the shelf, and then I just let the fruit hang off the front of it. Now, another thing that could cause your mushroom fruits to hang off and potentially fall and break off is just the weight overall. And it's if you are pushing them to the absolute limit. And I will push them to the limit sometimes. It's cool as heck to get those huge fruiting clusters. I mean, you want to get them as big as you can anyway, most of the time. And it makes for good photos. Sometimes the chefs want them real big. It's actually really eye-catching at the farmer's market too to have these obnoxiously big mushrooms sometimes. So I push it to the limit. Now, I want to say, though, one thing you can do when you make your incisions, okay, that can help a little bit, too. If you have too small of a hole that it's coming out of, like, let's just say you made an itty-bitty slice in there and the mushroom's only hanging on by a little bit, that can totally create them just to fall off because, like, the base, the stem, just doesn't, like, grow thick enough and it's not strong enough to hold the whole thing on there. So keep that in mind. It can have to do with how you're cutting the bag too if you are having problems with it. So if you're having problems with your mushrooms falling off, it's a good thing, like I said, but it should get corrected eventually. We've all had it happen to us. I've had it happen to me in the past. I know almost every grower I know has had it happen to them. And it's kind of heartbreaking when you walk into your grow room and you see that happen from time to time. But once you kind of figure out how to situate your blocks where they're not going to fall off, or how you can figure out where your mushrooms aren't going to harvest, you either need to harvest them in time, or like I said, make sure that base is big enough where they're growing out of to where they're not going to just break off. Those are the main things you need to take into account when you are side fruiting if you want to side fruit. Now, I'm going to talk about top fruiting a little bit, but let me show you a few mushrooms that actually really prefer to top fruit. There's some species that do prefer to top fruit more than anyone's. Let's check them out. Okay, so as far as the mushrooms that do just prefer top fruiting, king oysters, the Pleurotus eringi, is definitely one of them that prefers top fruiting. Here's some I grew in a tray. It was kind of like one of those concrete tote type things. And here is those king oysters all grown up. Now, another one is the Black Pearl King. So here's some Black Pearl Kings I have pictured fruiting. Those actually do just prefer to do a top fruit. Now, another one is the maitake mushroom. Now, these photos are not mine. These are T.R. Davis from Earth Angel Mushroom, but the maitake really likes the top fruit. I will be growing maitake on my farm here in Colorado very soon. I'm looking very forward to growing some maitake here. Okay, so those mushrooms I just showed you there, the king oyster, the black pearl king, the maitake, I feel like those are gourmet specialty mushrooms that just prefer to do top fruit, and they actually do perform better in top fruiting. You can do all of those side fruits as well. Like I said, it is totally grower preference, but I feel like those mushrooms do perform better as a top fruit just in general. Now, let's just talk about top fruiting. Why would someone want to top fruit other than side fruiting? One of the main reasons is obviously if you are concerned about them falling off the shelf. When you're top fruiting, you're always having that block completely centered on the shelf with gravity. So it's not going anywhere. You're never going to have that mushroom just like fall off on you. So it's a safety method. I will also say just sometimes it can actually be speed as far as how fast the mushroom can grow. Now, allow me to explain. I will go over a video with this specifically for this because this is like a grower technique. It's kind of like an advanced technique, I would say. But it's when you have a bag, let's just use oyster mushroom for example. Pink oysters are the absolute fastest at this. I'm just going to use that for example just because if I was ever slightly behind on my production schedule and I had some pinks I knew that were incubating that I could potentially use, This was a trick I always would do from time to time. That's why I had those pink oysters shown in some of the pictures top fruiting. So let's take a look at those pinks top fruiting, and I'll explain what I'm about to say right here. Okay, so advanced grower technique. Let's say you have pink oyster mushrooms, or any type of oyster mushrooms for that matter, in your incubation room. You're looking at them and you can see pins forming on the top side of the substrate. If you see that, you can pretty much top the bag right then and there, just cut the top off the bag, set it in the grow room, and let the magic happen. Pinks will fruit extremely fast, okay? So for example, this photo right here, I remember putting these pinks in the grow room on a Monday night, and they were ready to pick by Saturday morning and be for sale at the farmer's market. Literally 5 days in the grow room, and I had mushrooms to sell. Okay, like I said, if you completely top the bag on pinks, or even blues, like when those pins, you can see them forming. It's definitely an advanced grower technique. You have to time it perfectly right, and you have to know what you're doing, but you can actually get a lot of speed and harvest those mushrooms super fast, unbelievably fast if you're ever kind of behind on schedule. Now, the only thing that does do when you have them come out the top like that and you just top the bag, you have to clean a lot of substrate off. And that's the one reason why I don't do it on a regular basis. It just makes a freaking mess. But if you're ever behind on schedule, that's a trick. That's another thing you can do with, you'll see it with all sorts of mushrooms. People will grow lion's mane out the top like that too. Maybe if they just let it grow too long in the bag, and then they just decide to let it keep going. But whenever you do that, you just have so much to clean off the bottom of that mushroom. It's just not my preference. So hopefully, guys, that kind of explains some things to you, that there's really no right or wrong way. You can like top fruit or you can side fruit. There's benefits to each, there's cons to each, but at the end of the day, it's ultimately your choice what you want to do. That's all I got for you today, guys. But until next time, I'll catch you on the next one.